Welcome everybody to this meeting of the Council on Monday the 7th of July 2025. Unfortunately, my chaplain is unwell today, so I'm going to give his apologies, but we'll lead by doing the Lord's Prayer. Okay, so if you could all follow with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our justice, as we forgive those who trespass against us. For lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. May I remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live via the internet, and the record will be archived for future viewings. Could all councillors ensure that when they speak, they switch their microphones on and speak in close proximity to the microphone. And when they have finished speaking, the microphone to be switched off. This is extremely important for the webcast to ensure that the cameras will be focused on the individual who is speaking, and that the general public joining us virtually are able to hear the web stream. Thank you. I now refer to the agenda for the meeting. Apologies for absence. I invite the Chief Executive to give any apologies received. Thank you. Would you like to sit down? Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Apologies have been received from Councillors Beach, Clark, Gaskin, Holmes, Sankey and Afsar.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Thank you. The minutes of the previous council meeting. I propose approval of the public minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of May 2025. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Fletcher. Now we shall go to the vote. For. Thank you. Those for. Those against? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Item 4. It is with sadness that I share that Nigel Firmer, the Mayor's chauffeur, passed away in April of this year. Those who had the privilege of knowing him and working with Nigel will know that he was a gentleman with a great sense of humour, and that he carried out his duties with complete dedication. Nigel left a lasting impression on most of the people he met, and our thoughts are with his family and loved ones at this difficult time. I also share with you that Dale Shipley, officer of the council, passed away in June. Dale worked for the council for almost 35 years and was a well-known and respected member of the street cleaning team, who would often be seen discharging his duties around the town hall. Our thoughts are with his family and friends at this difficult time. Please would you join with me for a minute's silence in memory of Nigel and Dale. Thank you. You may be seated. Item 5, urgent business. I'm not aware of any urgent business this evening. Item 6, Amendment of the Constitution, Part 4J, Petition Scheme. I invite the Monitoring Officer, John, thank you, to do the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. The report before you is seeking full council approval to adopt a fully redrafted version of Part 4J of the Constitution, the council's petition scheme. While local authorities are no longer legally required to maintain a petition scheme, petitioning is an important mechanism for which residents can communicate with the council. Indeed, the redrafting and refining of the scheme promotes further transparency, accountability, and public engagement across the council. The revised scheme introduces a clearer structure with defined petition types, thresholds, and decision routes. It includes new flowcharts to make the process more accessible, clarifies officer responsibilities, particularly the distinction between officers and chief officers, and it removes also outdated provisions, such as allowing individuals who aren't residents within the borough to submit petitions. Overall, the redraft improves clarity and consistency while still aligning with previous standards and the current expectations of our residents. You'll have noted, councillors, that whilst this particular report wasn't required to come before full council, as the monitoring officer, I felt that it was appropriate given the importance of petitioning as a tool for our residents. The recommendations with the report are: 1, that full council approve the adoption of the amended Part 4J of the Constitution, and 2, that the monitoring officer be authorised to make any necessary further changes to the draft document in relation to formatting, numbering, or such other changes consequential or incidental to the intentions of full council. And finally, subsequent to paragraph 14.2, that the revised constitution becomes effective following any such changes being implemented by the monitoring officer. Councillors, whilst I am seeking full council approval tonight, there is another group meeting where this report will be considered. Consequently, any minor changes post full council will fall under my delegated authority. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, John. Could I have a proposer, please? Oh, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Propose, yes. A seconder? Councillor McKeenan. Invite the council to debate on this item, if you wish. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the Conservative Group are not going to support the item tonight. We will abstain on it. And it's fairly simple reason. So we're not entirely opposed to the proposed changes. Some of them make quite a lot of sense. I'm a little bit concerned some of the petition schemes have been watered down, and perhaps some of these concerns would have been raised when the group was briefed on it, except we're not going to be briefed on it. We're going to be briefed on Wednesday, and notwithstanding the monitoring officer's comments there, it surely isn't good practice or good for democracy to be debating something at full council and asking for council support, but then caveating it with what another political group may or may not say 2 days later. Whilst the members of the Labour group might be happy in debating something and an item to go into full council, even before they've discussed it at their group meetings, the Conservative groups are certainly not happy. So we're going to abstain on the item, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor, and just to clarify, councillors, after the pre-cabinet meeting last week, the petition scheme and the report was forwarded to Councillor Allen as leader of the opposition, and he was asked to circulate the document. So just that's for awareness before we go to the vote. Thank you.
Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Having carefully read this document, this being the first chance I've got to actually debate it or to discuss it, I have a bit of an issue with clause 5.2.2. These are the exclusion criteria for a petition. And they contain a number of good words: rude, offensive, defamatory, scurrilous, or time-wasting. I particularly like the use of the word scurrilous, but I have a bit of an issue with the word defamatory. And the reason for that is that many of the petitions that I could see members of the public actually putting to this council would be defamatory in nature. They may well be calling out the competence of a decision made by, say, the cabinet or the leader or any individual member, chair, or even an officer. Now, the members of the public are going to see those exclusion criteria. I wouldn't want them to be put off from putting in a perfectly valid petition based on aspects of defamatory language, which we would actually accept. It seems to me that the words rude and offensive actually cover everything we need them to. The word defamatory actually potentially puts off people from putting in perfectly valid petitions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I come back?
Yes.
Priya. Thank you, Mayor. I think when we're saying defamatory, defamatory, it's not just about the councils, but it's about other organisations. For example, if there was a petition which, I don't know, referred to another third party, Council Lock, and could be defamatory about them, of course, the council airing that or publicising that could put the council legally in a tub of hot water, so to speak. Thank you, Mayor.
Is there any further questions or debate on that item? No? Okay, so we'll go to the vote then. So all those for? All those against? Any abstentions? Thank you. That's carried then. Thank you. Item 7, the Treasury Market Report. I invite the Cabinet Member for Finance and Treasury Management to present and propose the approval of the report in accordance with Part 4H, Section C410 of the Constitution. Councillor Chowdhury.
Madam Mayor, this is one of 3 statutory Treasury Management reports which are required to be presented to the Council each year. I don't want to go through the report verbatim, but the attached report covers the strategy for 2024-25, a summary of that report, that strategy, the Council's strategy position as at 31st of March 2025, borrowing and investment outturn, the economy and interest rates, compliance with Treasury limits, and other Treasury matters. Madam Mayor, in summary, the Council's Treasury management activities during 2024-25 have been in line with the approved strategy. The salient points from the attached report are as follows. The Council's external borrowing is at 5.93 million as at 31st of March 2025. No additional external borrowing was undertaken during the financial year. The capital financing requirement, the underlying need to borrow, decreased by 1.011 million during the year. The CFR level of 12.461 million remains above the external borrowing limit. So even though we can actually borrow more, we are below that limit, and there's no borrowing last year. This means that we are in a good position in terms of any risks or repayments and liabilities for this council. Core investments stood at 46.41 million as at 31st of March 2025. And again, in terms of our returns, we've done better than what we budgeted for because of the slow drop in the interest rates. Again, it's a positive and good position for the council. Details of the annual performance were also reported to the Audit Committee at their meeting on 25th of June 2025, and they noted the performance and recommended the report to full council. Madam Mayor, in terms of the recommendation, in section 11 of the report, I propose an amendment in that I propose that the Council approve the annual Treasury Management Report for the 2024-25 and associated prudential code indicators.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Fitzpatrick. I invite us now to debate this item. Are there any questions? No. Okay, then we'll go to the vote. All those for? All those against? Sorry. Okay, sorry. Any abstentions? Motion carried. Thank you. Item 8, appointment to committees. I invite the leader, Councillor Fitzpatrick, to propose changes to committee memberships.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to make the following proposals for Council approval, which are changes to some of the committees. First one I'll start with is the Development Plan Committee. Councillor Saeed Hussain will replace Councillor Louise Walker. The next one is a Scrutiny, Climate Change and Environment Committee. Councillor Rob Hawkins will replace Councillor Kim Smith. Scrutiny, Health and Wellbeing Committee. Councillor Aaron Mansfield will replace Councillor Adriana Bailey. And the last change, Scrutiny, Value for Money Committee. Councillor Rob Hawkins will replace Councillor Aaron Mansfield. I ask Council to approve.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fletcher. We'll now go to the votes. Oh, sorry. Councillor George, sorry. Councillor George.
I just wondered if I could possibly ask a question. I noticed that Councillor McKeown is on the Planning Committee, but she's also the Cabinet Member for Planning Policy. And I know when I was the Cabinet Member for Planning Policy, I was not allowed to sit on the Planning Committee because there was believed to be a conflict. And I would have thought there was still a conflict there. And that's a concern.
Thank you.
I would have to check the Constitution in a bit more detail at this point, councillors, if that's that hasn't been checked already. And I'm looking at colleagues. So,
to be honest, if it's not in the Constitution, it maybe should be, because you can see there's an obvious conflict there. You can't be deciding on the policy and also deciding on the planning applications. You can't amend the policy to suit an application. There has to be a conflict there.
shall we? Forgive me, Mayor, through you.
Okay.
I'm happy to have a brief adjournment whilst I just double check the point. Is that okay, councillors?
Councillor McKiernan was appointed to the Planning Applications Committee at the last meeting. No objections were raised. I really don't see a conflict of interest. I really don't. But I'm happy for you to check it.
Councillor Allen.
When I saw this item on the agenda, I assumed that's what it was about. So I'm surprised that the leader hasn't raised it. It's something that I don't believe anybody really contested for many years. That's just how it was. I remember the former monitoring officers being very clear that you couldn't be an executive, you can have the executive responsibility for planning policy and then be on licensing. No more than the cabinet member responsible for regulatory services could be on licensing either. So I'm very surprised that this hasn't been flagged or highlighted before now. As I say, I assumed it really needs to be amended. I haven't got an amendment ready because I was pretty sure that would be cleared up here today. But just to answer the leader's point, no, well, when Councillor McKinnon was appointed on the Planning Committee at the AGM, she wasn't the cabinet member responsible for planning policy. Although that's what the council website says. What was happening behind the scenes, who knows?
We'll just take a short adjournment while we check that information. To invite John Teasdale, the Montroffs, to reply to them.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, there's nothing wrong with what's being proposed. I've just double-checked the Constitution. Unlike other parts, unlike other committees and subcommittees which restrict a cabinet member sitting on that committee, that is not the case here for planning, not in Part 3H of the Constitution. So, as far as I'm concerned, and there's nothing in law which stipulates that this can't happen. So, if it's missing from the Constitution and there's nothing which restricts it, then this can happen. Thank you, councillors.
Is anyone else who wants to speak? Councillor Jones. Yes.
Allow me to ask if maybe we can actually have a look at the Constitution, because to me that seems grossly unfair if that's not there, that somebody can actually be having a look at planning policy and also be deciding planning applications. You can have a look at an application and amend the policy to suit. That seems to me to be grossly unfair and not right. So could I ask that you actually have a look at the Constitution if it's not there, because I think it should be, and it was always there. Where I know certainly when I was a cabinet member, and it happened to be Julia Jessel at the time, and we ended up swapping because one of us was doing licensing, one of us was doing planning, and we couldn't sit on the committee, and that was the rule of the day. So I think we certainly should have a look at the Constitution there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Allen.
As I say, didn't expect this to be, it's certainly not a political item at all, really. I assume this would be used to just regulate and sort of constitutionalise what's already been decided. Councillor McKeon is going to be a cabinet member responsible for planning in the cabinet. So I'm like Councillor Jones, I'm almost certain that the advice that we were given, the rest of the administration that she was part of and the one that I was part of, from the senior officers of the council, was that this couldn't happen, and I'm almost certain it's in the Constitution. Whilst it might not be in the planning part of the Constitution, it is elsewhere, almost certainly. So with that in mind, and with the advice that I know we've been given, we'll just have to find it and dig it out on emails. We can't support the changes that have been made.
Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Can I just clarify, if the debate's finished, I'll have my right of reply?
Is the debate finished? Would anybody else like to speak? Councillor Peters.
Just for the record, Madam Mayor, I'd like to echo the comments from Councillor Jones. When I was chair of the licensing committee pre-pandemic, I was appointed to cabinet and I had to give up my role as chair of licensing. So as far as I'm concerned, I will agree with my colleagues, there is a precedent somewhere. And I think we ought to dig in and find out what is the right pathway to follow on this, because it could become very, very controversial in the future. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? You may speak then, Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Surprised, some councillors are getting two bites at the cherry here tonight, but I don't make little issues that way. I was not advised that it's not possible. I read the Constitution. The reason we have a Constitution is that's what we follow. The Constitution says it's clearly all right. I don't propose to make changes to that. So, can we move the vote?
Thank you. We will go to the vote. So, all those for those changes to committee? All those against? And any abstentions? Thank you. That's motion carried. Thank you. Item 10, there are no questions in advance of this meeting. Oh, item 9. Item 9, appointment of members to serve on the Health and Care Overview and Scrutiny Committee of the Staffordshire County Council. I invite the Leader of the Council to propose the appointment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Subsequent to a change that I made in the previous item, Councillor Alan Mansfield will be the nomination, and I ask Council to approve to that committee.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hadley. All those for? Oh, any against? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 10, no questions have been received in advance of the meeting pursuant to Rule 18. And I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you for your attending the meeting tonight. Thank you.